Are you a distro hopper? Have you noticed that when you go into your boot screen with mine, I just press F12 at boot up, and when you do, you notice that there's all these old remaining listings for distros you're not using anymore. You can get rid of those, and if you come back in just a moment, I'll show you how. Welcome to the Drunk Linux User. I'm Len. I am the Drunk Linux User. And the problem that I'm referring to is the fact that when UEFI lists a new operating system, it doesn't automatically get rid of it when you purge it. You have to kind of go in and do some manual things in Linux and also in Windows, but I'm going to show you the Linux side today. What I'm referring to is, if you take a look at this screen here, you'll see that this person has their Windows boot manager followed by Ubuntu, Deepin, and Pop! OS. Well, maybe they're only using Deepin or Pop! OS, maybe even Ubuntu. But the listings are still there. They may have overwritten the hard drive or that partition with the new operating system, but the listing for that old operating system is still there. And there is a way of getting rid of that. It's not that hard. I'll leave these links up in the show notes. But you have to use well, maybe you don't have to, but this is the way I know. You need to use your terminal. And to do that, you bring up your terminal. Let's bring up my terminal. All right. Set it off to the side there. And this is definitely, by far, the easiest thing I've run across. One thing you do have to make sure is that you have the EFI boot manager installed. And some operating systems may already have it, some might not. If you need it, for example, in a Debian base, you're just going to go sudo apt install EFI boot manager mgr. When you hit enter, you put in your password. And it says mine's already the newest version. Wow, that's wonderful. Okay, how to use it? So you come down here to this line, and it's real simple. You can just copy this and paste it if you don't want to actually type it in. With mine, you're going to see that I have that refined boot manager as my top listing. This is what I want my system to boot into. It also shows Pop! OS, and it shows the Windows boot manager. I had Endeavor on here, and to test this out, of course, without doing it on video, I've already cleared it. But if you want to clear out all old entries here, which is what you're going to see on the F12 screen or the BIOS screen when you first log in, it's really, really simple. What you're going to do is you're going to type in sudo EFI boot mgr space hyphen lowercase b, very important, and then the number of the entry you want to get rid of on your system. For example, we had Endeavor OS on here before, and that was, if you take a look over here on the right hand side, you'll see that boot, and then it's followed by 4 numbers and an asterisk. I'm not getting rid of any of these, but I'm going to show you. If I had something listed as 0001, when you have hotkeys set up, all right, then you would type in something like this. And if I had boot 0001 and it said Endeavor and I hit enter, well, I'm not completely done here. You also have to do, after the number of the boot listing, you have to do a hyphen and then a capital B. This will remove it from that listing, such as what I've done here with mine. Now I'm just going to back out of here. I'll probably get some kind of error message anyway, but why mess with a good thing, right? So this is by far the easiest way to get rid of it off the F12. But not exactly all the way there. Close, but we're not there yet. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go into, for example, this is Nautilus. And in Nautilus, you go to other locations, you go to computer, you go into boot, you go into EFI. Now you'll see there's a nice X here. You might see something else on yours. I'm using different kinds of icons, but if I want to get into this, I'm going to have to, I can do this. I'm going to show you the little trick to be able to open as administrator here in just a second, but I'm going to open as administrator. Okay, and I'm going to put my password in. It's going to ask me to do that twice. I don't know why it asked me to do twice, but there you go. Now I can get into this EFI folder. You're going to see EFI, the EFI with capital letters. Maybe you can't see that, but now you can. This folder right here, double click it, and you're going to see what is in your EFI boot folder. Now, I left this in here on purpose so I could show you. I have Linux, I have Dell, I have boot, I have recovery, I have refind, I have systemd, tools, yada yada yada. This guy right here, okay, it has this grub listing in there. This may actually, if you're using grub, this may actually add it back or keep it in your grub listing. You want to get rid of this. Now remember, I'm in administrator root. Okay, you can't do this any other way. You might be able to do this from the terminal. I tried it several times. It didn't really want to let me do it. It kept saying I didn't have permissions. Oh, I did. So I'm going to go ahead and right click. And another thing about Nautilus is, and several other different managers, file managers as well, you can delete permanently. I'm going to do that. I don't need Endeavor OS popping back up again. So I'm going to delete it. It's gone. Close out of this because I don't need to do anything else in here. That's how simple it is. So if you couldn't see it before, there's the X. You probably couldn't see it because my big fat face was in the way. But this is the folder that I went into to open as administrator. And again, there we go. Close out of there, close out of there. Now, if you want to learn more or change maybe the boot order in EFI, I'm going to leave this link up as well. It's from Linux Config. This gets into the nuts and bolts of what you can do with the EFI boot manager, and it's really, really nice instructions. So you can change the different orders. So for example, if you don't want Linux to be number one, you want Windows to be number one, you can change the boot order simply by changing the listings. And if you want to delete a boot order, this may work. I honestly don't know. I have not tried this particular version before, but it is in there if you want. You can also change the EFI boot timeout if you want as well. So if you don't want to wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever your system's set up for, you can change that timeout to say 4 seconds. So there we go. Lots of control over your system. Now, how was I able to right click and get administrator rights for my file manager Nautilus? There's this great little tool called Nautilus File Manager, and it's very, very simple to install on your system. Follow these commands: sudo apt install nautilus-admin. Close and open Nautilus File Manager to see the changes, and open it as administrator is listed there. And it goes in a little bit more, talking again about having to put your password in, which is what you want. You want that safety and security. And so from its FOSS, we have that little trick that we can use. Completely off topic, I use Shotcut. And that is my video editor that I use consistently. And one of the things that I completely forgot about, and I'm very, very glad to see, is that it now has hardware acceleration. Well, it's had it for a while, but I've never used it because I never had a GPU, a graphic card, in my system before. Well, now I do. So for yesterday's or my previous video, depending on how you're following these, I had about 15 minutes, and, well, let's go back to the one before that. That was a little bit over 15 minutes, and it took about 13 minutes to render using my i7 CPU. I'll tell you what, I am a big fan of GPUs now, because when I rendered yesterday's, which was about, I think it was about 14 minutes long, it took just under 4.5 minutes by making sure that I was using, I'll show you where that's at, I'll bring this up, and it takes just a second, of course. Now, when you go to export, click this little guy right here, use hardware encoder and configure. My system already came up with this. If yours doesn't, you may have to add some of this in, and that video that I was just showing you just a moment ago on subreddit for Shotcut, this will go through everything that you need to know about getting things set up. If you have like an Intel GPU and you don't have the VAPI listing checked and you can't check it, this will show you how to get it installed. Really nice little video, and it really makes things a lot faster. And like I put in my comment for this particular video, at least my CPU doesn't sound like a 747 taking off anymore. The GPU, the fans did come on, but it was a real soft whisper. It was not like blowing dust off my monitor or anything like that. So I'm very happy about that. Now, I hope that the previous part of this video showing you how to get rid of those directory listings for EFI or UEFI with your Linux system helps out. If it doesn't, please leave a note. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of the problem. Maybe I can find another link that will make it a little bit easier for you to follow. But in the meantime, let's remember our words of wisdom. Don't drive drunk. Don't drink and drive. Don't go to eBay or Amazon or use MS Edge to shop all buzzed up because you think you're going to buy the latest, greatest, coolest stuff. You're probably not. In the meantime, today I have my drink. It's a simple one, though, but it's the real thing. Bottoms up. Later, dudes.